as the fellow travels east, he's setting his clock. It's an hour ahead as he goes to another, an hour ahead, an hour and ahead, an hour and ahead, until he finally is going to reach to the 180 degrees, the exact 180 degrees around from Eretz Yisrael. So he's setting his clock each time to the local time, an hour later, till he reaches 12 hours different than when than the time that he has originally from Eretz Yisrael. Right? Eretz Yisrael time, it was Monday morning, 12 o'clock. He went a little bit east. It's really 1 o'clock here. It's 2 o'clock. It's 3 o'clock till he reached 12 o'clock. Right? 12 o'clock later. So it was Monday morning. So he kept on. It was later. The other fellow went around the globe the other way. So he took another watch for the time changes. So as he went a little bit west, the sun didn't even reach there yet, so he had to turn back the clock. So turn back his due watch an hour back. He took go in a little further, there an hour back, until he reached 12. They both met each other 180 degrees away, and the two fellows said, "Oh, Shalom Aleichem. It's Monday morning, midnight, right before the week that they met. It was 24 hours times 7 later." So they met, and they said, Shalom Aleichem. So they said to each other, okay, so one fellow said, okay, we better start rolling the Sefer Torah. It's Monday morning, it's midnight already. It's Monday early this morning, so we have laning today. So, right, because he was going around the globe, so he kept on setting his clock back, right, as he went a little back. And the other fellow said, what do you mean? We laned already. Because he was going this way. He said, what do you mean? It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday morning. So they ended up on 2 different days. That's one way to put it. As you go around the clock, they met up. He put his clock 12 hours ahead. He put his clock 12 hours back, and they ended up on 2 different days. That's one. That's the simple idea of why you need a dateline, because there's going to be a problem at that point. Right at that point, it's going to be a problem because they're meeting up. He's coming. It's 12 hours later, and he's coming 12 hours earlier in Eretz Yisrael. So they're coming out with a 24-hour difference at the same place. If you want a different idea, if that's too confusing, the simple idea is that as you go around the world, the times change, and if you keep track of each time zone, you'll end up that, let's say here, here it's what time is it right now? So let's say 9 o'clock, and if you go 7 hours, you go to Eretz Yisrael 7 hours later. If you go a little bit further, right? Let's say, so we're starting Eretz Yisrael. 7 hours later is Eretz Yisrael is let's say 4 o'clock. If you go a little further to Hong Kong, right there, another, let's say 7 hours later. So right now in Hong Kong, it's 11 o'clock at night. If you go a little bit further to LA, it's another 7 hours, let's say. So there, let's say 17 hours before, 17 hours ahead of us. So we're right now at LA. At this time, right, they have the clocks on the walls in the airport. So right now in LA, if you do that cheshbon, it will come out that LA is 17 hours ahead of us. And if you go a little further to Montreal will be 21 hours ahead of us. The problem is that as you get to Toronto, right, they're going to be 24 hours ahead of us. So there has to be a point of time where the day, you have to skip a day. So that point of time is, that was a big question that came up. Where is that point? Where is that point that you're going to have to now, as you get to that point, you have to skip a day, and all of a sudden it turns into the next day. So it was a big machlokas that broke out. What we have is...
When did this come about? When did they realize that this was a problem?
So it's very fascinating to know that you won't find this clearly argued in the Gemara. You won't find it in the Shulchan Aruch. If you look through the whole Shulchan Aruch, they won't say a view on this. There's a few Rishonim that have different implications. That it's implied from their words what they held. I have on the bottom of this paper number 9. There's a Baal Hamar. The Baal Hamar said words. It comes up in the Gemara about making the new moon, when you bless the new moon, so the molad, when is it going to be the new moon? So there the Gemara wants to know, like, when do you measure the molad, from where is the moon, on which place of the earth when you see the moon, is it called Rosh Chodesh, when you see the new moon here or there? And from there, there's a Baal Amar there that he gave a view, and there was a Ravid, there were different Rishonim, but they weren't coming to argue about that per se, but they gave their views there. And what came out was that when they finally came to a place where it was applicable, which was around 40 years ago, I'll show you where it came up. You look at, in Japan, you look at number 5, there was actually a lot of Jews. There were 350 Jews that were, I think there was one group of Jews, they were in Japan, as well as the yeshiva of Mir. The Mir yeshiva was also in Japan. And they were both there together in World War II. Now the problem was, where's the dateline? So they wrote to Eretz Yisrael, they wrote a telegram. So if you look at number 5 there, you see that they wrote, it says Palestine Post, telegraphs, telephones, Mivrak, telegram. And it says there, skip down a little bit. Right, you see it's 1941, the stamp. So it says that they wrote, you see under the stamp, it says to NLT. I don't know exactly what that stands for. To Rabbi Mishkovsky, to Rabbi Alter. Rabbi Alter was the Ger Rebbe. Rabbi Herzog, he was the chief rabbi. Rabbi Soloveitchik, I believe that was Reb Chaim Brisker. Reb Finkel, he was the head of the Mir. He was the Rosh Hashiva, Reb Lazer Yodo Finkel. And Reb Meltar and Reb Hornstein. Those were the... Reb Meltzer, right, that's a printing mistake there. Reb Isser Zalman Meltzer, they wrote to him too. And Rabbi Hornstein. Bate Hornstein, that was the place where they lived. Bate Hornstein, there's a group, a place. And it was in Yerushalayim, so they wrote to them, right, how's Yerushalayim? The house was in Yerushalayim. 350 Jews appeal, rescue, answer immediately which day to fast Yom Kippur. Because it came up the question, which day should we fast Yom Kippur? So what do you mean? What's the problem? Why did they have any question about it? You can fast Yom Kippur whenever Yom Kippur is. So the problem came up because where do you draw the dateline? So the nations of the world said, well, you should draw it. They decided arbitrarily, we'll draw it down 180 degrees from Greenwich, which means middle of the ocean. It won't bother anyone. So therefore they picked a good, nice place. Here you see the dotted line. They made a dotted line. And that's it. We're all deciding that that's the dateline. Now the truth is, it doesn't really mean anything. It's not a real dateline. They didn't decide it based on proofs. There's no proofs, we'll see how the Rishonim, how the Achronim.
London is the center of the earth. That's the reason.
Is that the other side of it? It goes through Greenwich, the other side of it?
Goes through Greenwich.
Zero is at Greenwich.
Right. And then 180 on the other side.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So they took Greenwich. I think they have a line in Greenwich, England. Someone was at my table this Friday night. He thought that the line. There's someone else who thought that line tells you where the line is of the center. They're calling that the center of the earth. And 180 degrees further will be the date line. And that's where you're going to have to jump a date. So, but that line is just where, you're going to measure 180 degrees. And from there, in the middle of the ocean, it'll be in the middle of the ocean. That's the line. It won't bother anyone. And then, you go on a plane. They'll make an announcement. We're about to cross the date line. And everyone gets all excited, emotional. They tell their friends, we crossed the date line. So, but really, in truth, it doesn't really mean anything. Nothing really happened. There was no chalois. There was no change. They didn't go into a new place, a new time zone. You're not chayiv in any mitzvahs now. It's the difference between the Torah and not if you don't have Torah. With the Torah, we're going to see where the Torah is going to they're going to bring proofs. They say to put the date line in a special place because they have proofs. They say this is where the creation started, because really what it boils down to is where was the first day. When Hashem created the land and He created the night and the day, so it says Vayerev Vayivoker. It was night and day. What does it mean by Yerev Vayivoker? Where was it Erev? Was it Erev in the middle of the ocean? Was it Erev? Wherever the sun was, on the other place on earth, it was still dark. So what do you mean by Erev? Where was the first day and where was the first night? That's the big question. That's why you have to know, right? This is the pasuk, right? The first pasuk, look at number 1. Hashem said we should make the lights in the sky, to separate between day and night. And they will be for signs, and for the Yom Tiv to know when it should be the holiday, Ula Yomim, when it should be day, which day, Vishanim, when it should be, which year, V'hayulam Aris Birakia Hashamayim L'Haaretz, and it will be able to light up the earth. Vayichein. So the question is, where was that? That's the big question. And this now, it was even, number 4, he writes that there was a student of the Rabbi, in answer to your question, how far back did this question go? In number 4, there was the Rabbi. He had a student who wrote, his name was Reb David Gans, and he wrote that this question is a she'ela niflag yedayla v'atuma. It's a wondrous question. Arucha meretz mida. This question is longer than the earth, the measured earth, rechava mina yam, and it's wider than the sea. Seems to be a play on words. Amok amok miyim tzenu. It's so deep, this question. Who could find it? V'huladas me'eza makam ha'olam maskal, to know where in the world does the day start? Kol yom v'yom. Midei Shavuot, each week. Lehikare b'shmoi tchila. Where do you call day first? Ve'eza makam min ha'olam asher bo yechaleh, and where does it end? Ve'itam kriyas kol yom yom. And where is it that point that you say the day just ended? Because it ended here, but it's just beginning the next place, and it didn't. It's not going to end there till later, and then further. And he quotes that there were many gedolim who had this question. Rav Chizda Hadayan, Vehatoichan, Reb Avraham Ben Chia, Reb Yitzchak Ber Baruch, Reb Levi Balas, Sefer Kuzari. He says that the Sefer Kuzari even spoke about this, and he was judging about this. And Reb Zrach Yobal Hamar, he quotes the Bal Hamar, who was the Rishon. They already were working on this. And he brings down Stagnain Hagadol. There was it's Stagnain. Stagnain is, there was a famous astrologer, Reb Chacham, Reb Yitzchak Yisraeli, and he wrote a sefer Yesod Olam, Shebinyanim Elu. In these matters, Nishtab Shudas Roy Bnei Adam. Most people have made big mistakes. V'amachabrim to miderech hasichli, and those authors, some of them have strayed from the right way. Nishka Rucham and Iskala Itzasim, and they've made wrong advice, vanilla, v'katsa yadam, hilitzi larmish, but they haven't been able to put out the right judgment. So here already you have in the Ramah's times, the Ramah's student writing that this question is too big to even grapple with. So the question, what was the question? So let's go further. I'll show you on the left side. Turn over the page, the left side, number 13. Here you see a map. You see 2 maps on the left side. The 2 maps were the question of when do you start the dateline. So came along the Chazon Ish. You see the second map on the number 12, to the left, number 12. And the Chazon Ish said, well, let's take this very simple. If Yerushalayim is the middle of the earth, if Eretz Yisrael is the Tabor Eretz, the middle of the whole earth is Yerushalayim. So that means put your finger on Yerushalayim. That's the middle of the earth. If you want to know where the earth started, go around 180 degrees, and 180 degrees from the middle of the earth will be the end of the earth and the beginning of the earth. And therefore he said, that's how we're going to do it. Yerushalayim, he drew a map. He had 180, he saw Yerushalayim, right? If you look at the second map, number 12, the left of number 12, so you'll see there, you see the gray line on the left side. Halfway down the gray line, it says Yerushalayim. It's a little words next to, on the right side of the map, it says Yerushalayim, right? Everyone see it? Yeah. So there he said, okay, that's Yerushalayim. So let's go over to the east, 180 degrees, right? If you look, they even have a scale. Actually, the truth is, one second,
That's 80.
Yeah. No, go up to the top map.
90.
Go up to the top map first. Here, right here, number 13. Right, same thing. This is not the Chazon Ish. I take it back. This is Reb Tukachinsky. Reb Tukachinsky is the leader in calendars in Eretz Yisrael. He also put out a sefer on Gesher HaChaim. So he's an expert in terms of calendars. So he said, well, go 180 degrees. So he counted 180 degrees, and he came out that it would be 180 degrees. So there you see it says Kav HaTarech, 180 degrees Yerushalayim, is where the gray line ends. So he said, okay, that's where the line ends, and anything before that is all part of the same time zone. Now, if you notice a little to the left of where he made the date line, was, it says Ha'okainis Hasheket, right? That was the Pacific Ocean. There, you see that line going through Hasheket? That line is the international date line, right? You see, it says, right? See, if you right under the word Hasheket, it says sideways Kav Hatarich Habein Leumi. That's the international date line. So he said, that's not the right one. It really is. It's 108 degrees. That's the idea, because it's the middle of the earth of Yerushalayim, so you have to move over. And therefore, if you look, so he had a few things that came out because he said that, right? He's right on top of Alaska and Hawaii. If you see Hawaii also came out that Hawaii is right on top of the box. I made a little arrow. See that first arrow on the right? It says EA Hawaii. That EA is the island of Hawaii. So he said the islands of Hawaii are still in the same date line. They're all in the same date line. They're all the same. Here we go. And therefore, right? See that? Everyone see that little the first arrow. So therefore, he said, you're not going to change your clocks until you pass by the end of the gray line. At the end of the gray line, that's where you change the clock. And therefore, as you're going to go to the east, let's say you're leaving from Europe, you're leaving from Yerushalayim, when you finally hit 180 degrees and you go all the way to the right, then, right, as we said before, let's say the sun is right here, but you're going right to the east, and you're going, even though it's already is the sun is past here, so you're going against, you're going ahead. You have to put your clock, it's already forward. You put your clock from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock. So you're going to have to finally, when you hit the date line, you're going to be so ahead, you're going to have to put your clock back a day. So when you finally hit that line, put your clock back. You think it's Monday, it's Sunday. All of a sudden it's Sunday, you cross that line. That's what Reb Tukachinsky said. Came along the Chazon Ish.
So did he hold that Alaska should keep, the tip of Alaska should be keeping?
Now, we'll have to speak about Alaska because...
It's interesting that there's a line in Alaska.
Oh.
Just like...
Because we're going to have to speak about this. The big question is, which we're going to have very applicable, it's going to be very perplexing, is what do you do if the line goes in the middle of a land?
That's a question.
What do you do?
Why is that a question?
Well, what would you say?
You cross the line, you cross the line.
Okay, so let me just show you the Chazon Ish.
That means one half of the town holds Shabbos on Saturday, and the other half of the town holds Shabbos on Friday.
That's a real
Alaska,
Club
they
Shabbos.
also have darkness for like 6 months a year. So.
No good Alaska.
The Jews would not live there in the first place.
Yeah.
So who cares?
Dr. Kurzner. That's right. Which side of Young Street?
One second, before we get to Mike's question, I just want to show you the Chazon Ish.
It's your question. I didn't answer.
But the Chazon Ish, he said that he has proofs from the Baal Hamor. The Baal Hamor, if you look at turn back to the other side, number 9, the Baal Hamor in the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah, he wrote down the whole idea. Dalacha, I'll read inside, you should know. Ki ein hayoim v'alayla shavim bizmanam. The day and night is not equal. B'chol makomos hayishuv, in every place of settlement. Right? It's different. Here it might be day, but there it's night. V'lei b'chol haaretz kula. And the whole earth is also not equal. Ki kol esvim v'arba shoyis min hayoim u'min halayla. All 24 hours of the day and night. Kol shah mehen. He erev b'makom v'echad u'bakom makom acher. At this point it might be morning. At this point it's night. So it's different every place. Al pnei kol haaretz kula, on the whole face of the earth. V'hamashal al zeh. Ki kishah yabayker l'shoichnei mizrach. That was the example I started with, that when it's morning on the east, on the east it's morning, but in Yerushalayim the sun has not come to there yet, and therefore Yerushalayim it's still going to be the night. Till 6 hours vav shoyis, till 6 hours later, liachar mikan, after that. And when you start the first day of the week, to the dwellers of Yerushalayim, and you won't start the first morning when Yerushalayim is starting the morning, but for the people who are Shochne Ketzei Marav, the people who are west on the eastern edge, they have another Advav Shoyz Lachabakan. They have another 6 hours till it'll be morning for them, because they're behind us. As you move, you got to put your clock back. They didn't get to that time yet. Ubetabor Ayam, and in the middle, Matim and Aretz V'hi Nekudas HaTahoim, and this is the Tahom, the depths. Right? You go another. He says you go to the middle of the sea. Then you won't start till another. That's going to be 12 hours after Yerushalayim. Right? That he's saying from Yerushalayim you go all the way 180. Let's say go to the middle of the sea. So there you wait. Each time is a different time zone. Now here he says to the people who are east, it won't start till 18 hours after that. Every day. So this is the Balamar. Right?
Is he Rishon?
Yes. The Balamar and the Ravid, they are big Rishonim. They're in the back of the Gemara under the Rif and the Ran. This is the Balamar. So they call it. He's written here Hamar HaKaton. That's what you see on the bottom of the Gemara in the back. So yes, he was a big Rishon, and Rishonim have big status. They say that the Rishonim, if the Rishonim were like Malachim, it depends what level they were on. If they were like angels, we're like people. If they were like people, then we're like donkeys, because we are on a different level than the way they were. They were so great that therefore we can't really argue on them. That's the classical. I think this is how we take on. Usually, you can't argue on a Rishon. But so the Chazon Ish, he learned out from here that it seems that, I think you could even see from here that it seems that 6 hours, he seems from Yerushalayim, seems Vav Shois. He says these 6 hours, which would be 90 degrees. So if you turn over to number 12, the Chazon Ish learned out from this Balamar that it's 6 hours, it's 90 degrees. That's where the earth started from Eretz Yisrael. 90 degrees from Eretz Yisrael. And therefore the Chazon Ish, he took the map by number 12, and he took his pen out, and he said, 90 degrees, you see 90 degrees on the latitude? He put his line down the middle, and you see it says there, right in the middle there. First it starts out, as he took his line, he went through Siberia, Asia, Sin is China, and then he finally made it down as he got into the Philippines maybe, and then he went further, Indonesia, and by that arrow there, the bottom arrow, Australia. He cut through Australia with the sharp pen.
What color did it? So what does it mean, though, to say that that's where it started?
So, therefore, the day starts right here.
But what's the idea behind that? That the world started there from Yerushalayim? What does that mean?
No, Yerushalayim is the middle of it.
What is the point they're looking for?
The Yerushalayim is the middle of the earth. But they're looking for, where was the first day? Vayerev vayivoka Yom Rishon. Where was it morning? Where was it Erev? Where was it evening? Where was the first sunset? Where on the earth did the sun set?
So does that mean between Yerushalayim and, let's say, the middle of Australia? That
means on Australia, right on that line, the sun set. Hashem said, "Vayerev vayivoker Yom Rishon." It was a sunset right there on that line, latitude going from Australia to Siberia, going up there. That was the line, and that was the first morning, or the first night. That was the first night, and then when it turned morning, that was when it was the first morning.
Because he didn't necessarily start full day.
But it starts in Yerushalayim.
No. Yerushalayim was just the measuring point to measure from. That's maybe according to Reb Tukachinsky, that was the middle of the earth. So he said, if that's the middle of the earth, then the end of the earth is 180 around. So that's where the earth started. And we get to the middle when you go 180. So the middle of the earth is Yerushalayim. But where did the earth start? By the end of the earth.
Could possibly means that when he created the sun, so he created overhead, right overhead Yerushalayim from the first moment of creation. So therefore, 9 degrees to the east would be sundown.
Right.
The day started.
Right. 90 degrees.
First time it ended, yeah.
Or first time.
Right.
So then where did the 90 degrees come from? I know that the
Because the sun is right overhead, so it's going 90 degrees each way. So that's like
90 degrees east, 90 degrees
He's saying,
west.
so Yerushalayim, let's say, is right here.
Yeah.
So Hashem created, he put the sun right here, right? And then at that minute, so now but it's already in the middle of the day, right? When he created Yerushalayim, let's say it would be in the middle of the day here, and it was sunrise and sunset, let's say, at 90 degrees to the east.
And to the west.
Sunset will be to the east.
And to the west, or just to the east?
180 from that.
Sunset will be to the east.
Okay.
Sunset, it will be setting already on the east, and it will be rising on the west. Right.
But is that even a question that the Ma'or is answering? He's just saying the time isn't the same on all points of the earth, which is, given that he's a Rishon, he was before Christopher Columbus. I mean, it's quite an insight, but he's not really addressing the question of my separations.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if these are the exact words where the Chazon Ish learned it out from. You have to see inside. There's you look up the Chazon Ish. He has a whole few pages on this, but there's a lot. But you're right. This is maybe just to show you that a little bit of introduction. But you'll have to look up where he brings it from. But the Chazon Ish based himself on the fact that he has a Balamar. That the Balamar said it's 90 degrees over. That's where the day starts every day, and that's where he said. Right, if you take a look at the map, right, the Chazon Ish said. So you look at number 12. He said when you pass over, you finish with seeing. You see where it's. Or you see that arrow in the middle, right? Anytime you're going to pass over from the gray to the white, you're now crossing over the date line. You're going east, and as you go east, right, you're going to jump back a day. It will turn from Monday in the morning, it's Sunday in the morning. Now it's Sunday morning.
I'm not getting. Where do we have makor of somebody saying this was happened above Yerushalayim? Why not above Shiloh? Why not above Beersheba? Why not above where do we have, because somebody says this is above Yerushalayim, so somebody says this is above Greenwich.
Okay, so you have to look up the Chazon Ish. The Chazon Ish is quoting a Ravid, a Balamar, and the Balamar said it. So the Chazon Ish quoted, he was going just in the words of...
No, but let's say Balamor. What is Makor for Balamor?
Where did he know it from?
He cannot come up and says, look, I feel this is Yerushalayim. Okay, it's very nice. But
you have to look up where the Balamar got it from. On the other hand, the other view, Reb Tukachinsky, he said it's 180. He came up from logic. He said it's 180 degrees because Yerushalayim is the middle of the whole universe. So if Yerushalayim is in the middle, so that means 180 degrees is the end and the beginning. So therefore they said you start the date line by Hawaii, going down there. He came from logic, but the Chazon Ish came from, he just saw in the Balamar and that a lot of Rishonim were writing with this. Maybe they weren't writing it expressly like that, but it came out from their words like that, and therefore we can look it up. We'll see his source. There's a whole lot of writing on it, but that's where he came out.
So why did the question only come up in Yom Kippur? What about Shabbos? If you're a day before,
you're right.
Then how did they deal with that up until that point?
You're right. So now came up the big question: when the Jews they ran away to Japan,
all of a sudden they were lost.
Then look at the little arrow there. You see them in the middle. In the middle, there's an arrow. It says Japan.
Great.
Right there, right next to the gray in the middle. So that arrow, Japan, that's where the Jews ran. A lot of Jews ran in World War II. There were 350 Jews, and there were a lot of Jews who came with the Mir. There was a whole Mir yeshiva. But the question was, where should they keep Shabbos? When should they keep Shabbos? And when should they keep Yom Kippur? Yom Kippur was fast approaching. So, what was their question? So the question was,
what day is it?
If somebody's lost somewhere, can't he just make that day Shabbos?
So it's interesting that I did see that brought down, that this title that Moshe is saying. Moshe does say this Gemara in Shabbos, that the Gemara says if you're lost in the Midbar, so then you could just start counting from wherever you are.
That was before
So they're not lost. They're in Japan.
They have a telegram.
So the truth is, Rabbi Zalman Meltzer,
They know where
he said that, what's the problem? We could decide right now. Maybe there's no halachic date line. We could just go with what Japan does. We'll go with them. Like that idea that Moshe says. So, but the Chazon Ish said, no, I'm bringing a proof from the Ravid, from the Balamar. I have a Balamar. He brought a proof from there. And Reb Tukachinsky said, I'm going to bring a proof from logic, that the date line should be over.
Were all those three people in Japan?
No.
Okay.
They were in Eretz Yisrael.
Okay, good.
The Chazon Ish was in Bnei Brak.
So it's easy for them to have all these arguments.
Why couldn't they just go from the new moon and say, okay, we know now when Rosh Chodesh is, then we can count Yom Kippur?
Yeah, but the question is, but what day is? When does it turn? When do you turn over the date? Look, I want to show you inside.
But would the date line matter if they know when the new moon is, though?
Yeah, because what day is it?
Is it the 30th or the 31st or the 29th right now? Whatever it is.
Let me show you the picture. I want to show you this chart. Tell me if it becomes better. So you see that Japan, that arrow. So the Japan is right between the two date lines. Yeah. So according to this arrow, this Chazon Ish, the Chazon Ish said Japan is already going east. That's in the middle of right near the ocean. We didn't turn over the date line. We turned over the date line already. Once you stop going in the gray area, then already it turns into the date line. We turned our clock back to the day before, right? It's Monday. All of a sudden, it's Sunday. So therefore, the Chazon Ish said, although in Japan, the people there call it that Yom Kippur is going to be this Wednesday, Chazon Ish said, yeah, but Wednesday is really, you got to put the clock back. It's a day before. It's really Tuesday. People, they got it wrong. They got the date wrong, and they forgot to turn their day back, and therefore in Japan, it's a day earlier than they think it is. Right? You have to put your clock back, and therefore the Chazon Ish said, right, if you think it's Wednesday, it's really the day before. On the other hand, Rabbi Yechiel Meir Tukachinsky, he said, no way. Japan is still in the middle of all that gray area. That's all. The date line didn't change yet. It will only change after Hawaii. That's all the way east. Then it will turn back a day. But today, the Japan, they're right. They think it's Wednesday. It is Wednesday. And therefore, they're right. You should fast on Wednesday. And therefore, they didn't know when they should fast in Yom Kippur. Wednesday, or it was 2 days, I think, or actually it was Thursday or Wednesday. So what they did is, they had a big question. So 350 Jews wrote a letter they wrote this telegram to the Rabbanim in Eretz Yisrael. And that was what I read before, number 5. And they wrote to those, Reb Mishkovsky, Reb Alter, the Gera Rebbe, to Reb Herzog, to Reb Soloveitchik, Reb Finkel, Reb Meltzer, and they wrote to them, please, tell us, 350 Jews, we want to know when should we keep Yom Kippur. Which day should we keep it on Wednesday? Or should we keep it on Thursday? Thursday, all of Japan is keeping it, right? Or whatever. Or there were a few local Jews there also. They said, what do you mean? We always keep Yom Kippur. Wednesday is Wednesday. Thursday is Thursday. We keep it on Thursday, right? That's our Thursday. And the Chazon Ish said, so here's the Chazon Ish said, no, you should really be keeping Yom Kippur on Wednesday. And therefore they sent the telegram. And what Reb Herzog did, he's turned over at number 8, Reb Herzog sent out a telegram. And he wrote, you see the letter there, number 8, and he wrote a letter. And you see, he writes in this letter, he's sending all of the information out to all the Rabbanim. He sent them the kuntras, the pamphlet that the Chazon Ish wrote when he holds it should be the new day. And he sent out all of the information, and he told them, you see the whole letter, it's a fascinating letter. So he said, I'll read it inside. We want to meet. Everyone should meet at 4:00 in the afternoon in the Malone in the hotel Dorsky, Rehov Ben Yehuda Yerushalayim. Tiskayim Bez Hashem. There will be there Asifas Rabbanim, a gathering of all the Rabbanim. Be'inyan Hashela, in this topic of the whole big question, Shegia Bisham B'Shem Shalish Meyos V'Chamishim Nefesh. There are 350 people who just wrote us this question, May Yisrael, from Jews, Be'ir Kobe, in the city of Kobe, Japan. Lamar, Hatileni Hayadiyu, tell us, Be'eze, save us, tell us, Be'eze Yom Yacholetz Ledi Yom Kippur, Habal Ave'alatchum, Ichud Rabbanim Ubalibatim Be'Kobe. It's from the Jews of Kobe, tell us. So he said, Ksav Kvay Tairasei, I'm sending you now, Hatokas Me'akuntras, all of the pamphlets from the Chazon Ish. Do your homework. I'm sending you Hagoin Reb Michal Tukachinsky. I'm sending you his views. Let's go, everyone. You have a few days till that meeting. Benogea li Yom HaShabbos b'Makomas Yehem, what day should be Shabbos. Lota came, but Lota Bazeh attached. I'm including in this the Rishima Shel Svarim Layim. I'm giving you a list of Svarim to do your homework on them. Bivakasha, please. Lavo, you should come. I'm making a gathering, a meeting, and we're going to decide then. Hashem will help us. We should make the right decision. We should get back the judges so we can make a good decision. From the Birchas, so he sent this message. So all of those 6 Rabbanim came in, and it was a big, big argument there. But basically, the Balamar, with Reb Chaim Brisker and the Chazon Ish, they held one way. But most of the people in that meeting, the Gera Rebbe and Reb Herzog and Reb Tukachinsky, they all said, well, the date line is 180, and therefore they fast on the day where it is. The day where it comes out on, right, wherever day it comes out.
Which date line? The Greenwich one?
The international.
Not the Greenwich. No. The Reb
Tukachinsky.
Tukachinsky on the top one. They said it's the same thing, like the whole world.
180 from Yerushalayim.
180 from Yerushalayim, which is the same thing as the Greenwich International Dateline. So it's just fast on that day. And therefore he wrote back, you look at number 10, he wrote the telegram back. He wrote in your cable there, number 10, in reply, your cable 12/9, and the date was 12/9, meeting my rabbis. My presidency decided that you fast on Wednesday according to the counting of days of the week, current in Japan. You go like Japan on my part. I'd add none dare risk danger by fasting also on Thursday, but should also eat on that day. That means they should eat on the day Thursday because it's very dangerous. Don't be machmir. Don't be stringent. You can say, well, I have a question. Is it Wednesday or Thursday? So I'll fast 2 days.
Right.
She said that's already going into Orach Chaim section 618, which is Hilchos Yom Kippur. You have to be careful not to put your life in danger. She said, fast on Wednesday, eat on Thursday.
Could you assume from the way he answers here that for Shabbos they were keeping 2 days?
No.
Because Shabbos, it's physically possible. I mean, halachically it's different, but physically it's possible to keep 2 days.
Okay, 1 minute. Hold on, 1
No,
second.
it's not. Sheish is Yomim.
Go.
You're only allowed to keep one. You need 6 and one.
Physically,
one
it's possible.
Physically it's possible.
Yeah, but it's against halacha.
But he doesn't
1
give
second.
that
So
as
we're going to get into this. One second.
For physical
Hold on. So therefore, we have to get to this. But just this was their answer. This was what they wrote to the 350 Jews that asked them. Now, in the Mir Yeshiva, they had the same question in their little yeshiva. They had their own part of the neighborhood, and they wrote to the Chazon Ish. Right? The Mir Yeshiva was Reb Chatzkel Levenstein. He was the mashgiach, and Rabbi Chaim Shmulevitz. He was also. So they were both there. So they wrote the same letter, but they wrote it to the Chazon Ish. They wrote to the Chazon Ish because they heard that the Chazon Ish was the leader of the generation. They heard from Reb Chaim Oizer Gudinsky. Reb Chaim Oizer was the Gadol Hadar. He was the undisputed Posek Hadar. And therefore he said that you should listen to the Chazon Ish, because the Chazon Ish is going to be the next Posek Hadar. And therefore he said, whatever the Chazon Ish says, do. So therefore Reb Chatzkel Levenstein and Reb Chaim Shmulevitz said, okay, they sent their own telegram to the Chazon Ish. And the Chazon Ish, he said, no way should you do that and fast on Wednesday, fast on Thursday. He told the whole yeshiva. So Reb Chatzkel Levenstein.
Wouldn't it be Tuesday?
I mixed up. It was the other day. It was Thursday. The question was Wednesday or Thursday.
But they said Wednesday.
They said Wednesday, and the Chazon Ish said Thursday. The question was Wednesday or Thursday.
Shouldn't it be Tuesday?
So let's see. Let me see. I'll read it to you exactly. He came in. He said, we'll keep. It was.
The Chazon Ish would be the day earlier, wouldn't it?
Right.
So what if the Chazon Ish said you put back, the day goes back, so they had to wait 1 more day till Yom Kippur. If you say
okay.
You waited, the Chazon Ish said you pull back the clock, right? It's today's Wednesday, but it really should be Tuesday, and therefore you have to wait 1 more day till Yom Kippur. So therefore, Reb Chatzkel Levenstein got the telegram. They also waited for their telegram, and then he told everyone. He said, we're going to keep Shabbos on Sunday.
350 Jews, 2 Shabbases.
And
Crazy.
he came into the Beis Medrash on Shabbos. On the Shabbos of Japan, Reb Chatzkel walked in with his talis and tefillin on the traditional Shabbos, because he said tomorrow Shabbos.
On Saturday.
On Saturday, he walked in with his talis and tefillin, and he said tomorrow Shabbos, and he went to the lectern, and he said, everyone should know this is what we're going to do. This is yeshiva, and fortunate is the yeshiva if they're able to. The great ones will listen to the small one. He called himself, I'm the small one, but this is what I tell the whole yeshiva to do. And fortunate is everyone that we should listen to the small one. And with that, he said, we're keeping it on Sunday. So there was the whole yeshiva then started, they all said, okay, we're keeping it, Shabbos is going to be on Sunday. And Yom Kippur is going to be on Thursday. And the truth is, Reb Shmuel Birnbaum, he was the Rosh Yeshiva. He now was in New York. He was there. So he said that on Yom Kippur, there were, at least on Shabbos, we have to get into this whole discussion of how do you keep 2 days Shabbos. That is one thing. But in terms of Yom Kippur, you can't keep 2 days of Yom Kippur. It's very dangerous. But we're going to have to speak about it. Maybe on Shavuot night, I'm going to have to go into the details. All these problems that come up. How do you keep Shabbos? 2 days Shabbos. Could you keep 2 days Shabbos? Let's say you cross the date line. We have to get into Australia still. We have to get into, could you split Australia? This I didn't get to. Shavuot night, we have to say, how do you split a land? Said the Chazon Ish, you can't split a land into 2, because that means Mike is my neighbor, lives here, and I live here.
They already split the land into 2. They have
No.
2 people, 2 communities.
Okay.
But part of Eretz Yisrael is Kedusha by Shemitah. For the south, you're allowed, and then the north you're not allowed.
Well, okay, we'll have to see exactly where.
It's the same
you have to see where.
They keep 2 days, 1 day Yom Tov.
You have to see exactly where it is. Okay, wherever Moshe went and Yeshua went, that became holy. But that became Eretz Yisrael. Wherever Yeshua walked, he conquered. That became Eretz Yisrael proper. Anything out of that is not Eretz Yisrael proper. Okay, but the Chazon Ish said, but here, although you're right, the line should be here, but it's impossible that Mike is holding Shabbos and I'm holding Friday. And I'll say, you know what? Mike is holding Shabbos, and he said, "Oh, my light. I forgot to send one thing in business to my boss. He comes into my house. Can I borrow your computer for 2 minutes? Okay, no problem. It's not Shabbos."
Many walks in. That was the other day.
What?
Many walks across the street. It's the other day again.
As he walks in the street, we'll speak about all these. What? As you walk across the street, it will be the next day.
2 birthdays.
Chazon said that's impossible.
It's no difference. You make early Shabbos, and you tell your neighbor, it happened to me, he asked me to take his computer out of his car.
That is fine. That's fine, because for him, it depends when you accept the Shabbos. But here, just because you cross the street, you turn over to be a new day. Chazon said it can't be, and because of that, I'm going to make a new idea. It's called Greira. Greira means it drags. Greira means it's dragging. We're going to drag that all of the land has to be one land. We can't have that. For him it's Shabbos, for me it's weekday, right? And if I want to have a little bit of Kedusha Shabbos, I could go into his house and I could, it doesn't work like that. It's impossible. And what about carrying? Mike wants to know, well, is he allowed to stick his hand across into my house and just move a cup for almost, move something from the inside of the house to the outside of the house? Is that any problem of carrying? If he sticks his hand over the line, does a little carrying, a little malacha, his watch broke, so he wants to just fix it, so he goes like this. Fix it. Is that fine? So the Chazon said, impossible, Greira, all of the land is one, and therefore all of this land is dragged. And you see Australia, Chazon Ish said Australia is going to be all part of the gray. It's all dragged part to the left. It's all going to be before the date line changes. And once you finish with Australia, or once you finish with Siberia, and you jump into the lake, to the ocean, to the Pacific Ocean, then you're jumping into the date line. The minute you go into the water, you hit the date line.
So you filled in the Bering Straits with land between Alaska and Russia?
Now, so Alaska, that's the same question.
Connect those 2 land masses. Really,
So, okay, listen, we'll have to stop here. Shavuot night, the first night at 1 o'clock, we're going to get into all these questions of how do you keep Shabbos, how do you keep, do you make Kiddush again if you go past the date line? Do you say Sfiras HaOmer when you keep Pesach?